Chilling. Oh, Lord. Good morning. A little before the 9 a.m. I'm ready to go. Got the show ready. Might have some surprises. Might not. But it's week 12. We're here in the very beginning when it was Marty and I think, or maybe it was Rob and I think it was Marty the first time that he was with us. And we talked about week 1 or week 2, whenever it was. I was like, before you know it, it's going to be week whatever. And before you know it, here we are. So a couple teams on by. And that's okay. Status quo. Please comment. Say something. Let's get it rolling. We need comments. We need likes. We need hates. We need loves. Give something. One thing I noticed, and we did talk about this, and I think Marty, he was one of Marty's little bonus guys there. Greg Dulcich. I know they're not playing today, but he's not doing much. But it's interesting because he's still on our old intro. This is season 9. This is Answers by Guests, the Inside Scoop. From outside the box, we talk fantasy football. We give some insight, and we're going to get started with it. So, Guest Gazette, that's me. The headlines, Thursday night review. Houston. Dare I say is what I wrote there, and what I'm talking about is Davis Mills has played better than C.J. Stroud has all year. We talked about from the jump of the season pretty much that their offensive line was just terrible, and it was causing their offense to not be able to do much at all. And I think it was week 2, maybe week 1.5, because that was typically when I would give the 5 guys for your eyes. But after week 1, I was just like, Houston defense, put them into the 5 guys for your eyes. It was a surprise. I'm a poet and I know it. For Marty, and he said, wow, a defense in there. And I said, they just look really, really good. Hola, what's up, Fantasy Football Wizard of Odds? They just looked great, and they've just continued to get better. And if you watch the game, you heard them talk about it. And I had been saying it the past couple weeks, they're the number 1 defense in football. I thought it would be the Chargers way back then. But I noticed Houston was playing really well, but their offensive line was a big problem. C.J. Stroud couldn't get much going, and Davis Mills is doing enough. The early game he started off was missing open guys, but he got it together, and he's playing really, really well. So we'll see. It's going to be a little bit of a controversy because if Stroud comes back in and looks terrible and they lose a game, they've been winning. Something to look at. And I absolutely love Jaden Higgins. He was a 5 guy for your eye real early on as well. A bit of a layup. I mean, rookie wide receiver that they draft. But he's looking better and better each week and putting up fantasy points. So that's good to see. Let's get into, I forgot to change that to week 12 matchup. So Minnesota, Green Bay, I put Micah Parsons there. Why? He's been really, really quiet this entire season. And some negative comments about the trade and whatnot. I feel like he's making everybody around him better. Their defense has looked pretty good. There was a couple games where they couldn't stop anybody, Dallas game being one of them. But the Dallas offense, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, they might be the best all-around offense in football, to be honest. You got 2 huge playmakers. Lamb is the superstar, but Pickens has been outplaying them anytime they're on the field together. We saw that last week. But as far as Green Bay is concerned, I'd like Micah to do some damage today. Unfortunately, I liked McCarthy going into the season, but he's just too raw. I think that if they stick with him, which they will, He's turned veteran quarterbacks into studs. He's fixed many careers, head coach, and he'll be fine with McCarthy. But I think that the Green Bay defense and Micah Parsons specifically, I think today's a good day to take a prop bet on Micah Parsons to get 2 sacks. I think that one sack is probably negative money, 2 sacks is probably gets you into the positive. I would take a look at that. Division game, Green Bay hasn't looked great. Jordan Love, to no surprise to me, hasn't looked great. They continue to get weapons back. They continue to lose weapons. They continue to throw to 12 different guys. He got Jacobs hurt. He's got 2 guys behind him. And one thing that I sort of want to talk about, and I want to bring this up before we get too far into focusing on these games, we're focused on week 12, but I think this week's a little different. But I said that we should do this every week. I think it was last season. I sort of brought it up. You really got to look ahead to next week's Thursday game. If there's guys like in this case with this game, Josh Jacobs, who's banged up, going into the Thursday game, there's 3 Thursday games this week because it's Thanksgiving, which is why I'm hoping that we have a surprise today because it's a tradition that we talk about some things. But that's besides the point. And the Josh Jacobs situation, he's a monster. He doesn't want to sit. What's up, Derek? And they'll want to use him, but they're not going to want to overuse him because they have a big game next week against Detroit. And I think everybody would think that Detroit is going to be a stiffer task than Minnesota. I'm hoping Green Bay doesn't look ahead in this game as a Packers fan. I think the Packers will take care of Minnesota. I like Justin Jefferson, although he's been not connecting, but I think his comments this week are going to go a long way. I think that they will be able to move the ball fine against Green Bay, but I do like Parsons as I put a picture there. But keep an eye on the 6 teams playing on Thanksgiving if you haven't looked ahead. It's the Packers, Lions, like I talked about, Chiefs, Cowboys, which is another thing that we'll talk about with Pacheco. They probably won't overuse him too much because they got a quick turnaround. And Cincinnati and the Ravens. And the Cincinnati situation is the Joe Burrow situation. He could have played this week, but they're like, well, we have to go to Baltimore next Thursday in a few days. Let's not put him out there. Let's give him a few extra days. So it's a thing that coaches do that I've been noticing. If a guy's a little banged up and they have a Thursday game coming up, look for the guys behind them because they're not going to want to overuse that banged up guy, even if he's good enough to play. But here, I like Parsons to get 2 sacks today. He's been real quiet all year. I'm hoping Green Bay wins this game. I'm hoping they don't look ahead like I just told you to the Lions game. And I'm hoping they take care of business. We shall see. Colts KC, we just talked about them a little bit. KC does play on Thanksgiving. They're the second game of the day against the Cowboys. I put Mahomes there. He's been relatively quiet, not terribly quiet, but I think that he's just going to be passing the ball like crazy today. But the one thing, and I don't know if Antonio, if you're watching, but I said I'm going to be live pretty soon. I'll talk about it. He was talking about Kareem Hunt and Jalen Warren. Warren was banged up, but Warren said he could have came back in the game if he wanted to. And he practiced in full pretty much all week. And I was like, I would play Warren over Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's got his role. And I do think that they will do what I just said. Take it easy with Pacheco in this game if he plays at all, because they do have a Thursday game against the Cowboys coming up in a couple of days on Thanksgiving. But Rashard Smith, he's still there. And this would be a good game to get him involved and get him catching some passes, because I think you can beat the Colts through the pass game better than you can on the ground. And I think that's where they're going to focus. And yes, that goes into Kareem Hunt's basket. So I told him, go with your gut. That's the number one rule and answers my guess. Go with your gut and keep an eye on those ebbs and flows. But with this, I think Mahomes going to go crazy. I like them for 3 touchdowns today. Their backs are against the wall. they lose this game, they're even further down the list. And dare I say, if they don't win this game, which I think they will, and which the odds makers think they will as well, as you can see there, -3.5, they're in big trouble. But we've seen Indiana Jones turn into Dandy Dimes over the past couple weeks. He's had glimpses of being himself this year, but I think the KC defense at home is going to cause some issues. They'll focus on him. I think they feel like they could do a good enough job against Jonathan Taylor, which nobody's been able to do this year. And if they do that, I think this one will be an easy one for Kansas City. I would not be surprised if they shut down the Colts. Pittman worries me this week. I know Pierce has been killing it. I've never been a Josh Downs guy. You probably would be safe to go ahead with Warren. I'd look for other options, but something about it, I really like KC this week to lay the wood in this one. I think they're prepped, they're ready, they know this is do or die, and I think Mahomes is going to lead them there. That's why I threw his picture there. He's almost rolling out the door. We talked about it. Burrow will be back. I cut shares. I've been using Flacco for just about as long as he's been there this season. I got rid of him in all the places I own him. He had a down week last week that didn't cost me anything, but probably cost a lot of people. And it's going to be done. Burrow's going to be back, and this is just a tough matchup, but it's at home and there's no Jamar Chase. So you throw Higgins out there, but the Patriots defense is for real. They're top 5 as well. The running back situation is going to be a headache. The people that have been playing Travion Henderson, they're still going to use Jennings. Stevenson more than likely will be back last I saw. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. We'll get to all these comments. What's up, the pastor? What's up, Stephen Pereira? I love it. Twitch people here, YouTube people here, absolutely loving it. Derek, an old timer, ABG family member. I love it. So in this game, it's tough. It's tough. My top 5 against the spread, Daniel, I'll get to that. I'll pretty much spit them out as I go through them. But I like Kansas City right off the bat. So put them in my top 5. I think that they cover the 3.5. Now, typically, if I'm taking a team against the spread, I'm buying that hook and I'm getting it down to -3 just in case they win by a field goal. There's absolutely nothing worse than losing by a half point. I'd rather spend 10% juice, right? -110 at -3.5 or -120 essentially is usually what it works out to. Pay the extra $10, get that half point, and then if they win the game by 3, you at least push and you get your money back. You don't lose. But in this one, Patriots, the myriad of wide receivers they have, I'd love them to get Kyle Williams more involved. It's not going to happen. I believe, again, correct me if I'm wrong, and this is the reason I haven't been live past couple weeks. Super busy, holiday season. You all know how it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Booty is back, if I'm not mistaken. So they're going to use him. Demario Douglas. What's up, Raleigh? So the Joe Flacco thing, if you're holding on to him, even if you plan on using him this week, there might be somebody better, in my opinion. Bit of a down week last week. No Jamar Chase. I think this is a layup call. I'd look elsewhere in this one. Pitt and the Bears. Daniel, I'm going to keep referring back to your top 5 against the spread because you're asking about it. This isn't one I'd put in the top 5. And it actually seems a little bit like a trap to me, but I do feel like the Bears will handle business. But I don't know if that's my heart or my head talking as a Green Bay Packers fan because I want those Bears to lose a game to get back behind them. But Caleb's been rolling. And right here you got rolling Caleb and rolling on the ground Rodgers. He's going to stick it out. He's going to play. I think that who's their backup, the rookie? Is it Will Warren? Is that his name? I got to look it up. Maybe if someone knows before me. Because they were going to go with, Mason Rudolph, right? Or is Rudolph on the Houston? What is it here? 1 second. Bear with me. Well, it was Mason. Will Howard. What did I say? Will Warren. I was close. Um, I want them to throw Will Howard out there. I'd like to see what he has. But yeah, Mason Rudolph, if I'm right. But anyways, Bears in this one. I'm gonna DJ Moore. We had him on a 5 guide to despise. He had his 1 week that I called. I said he's going to have a good week this week. That was the week Odunze had 0. Then I went back and I said, okay, Odunze is going to be back. He was back. It's a roller coaster. We like Swift in this one. I'm fine with Jalen Warren playing. There's questions about him. Calvin Austin, we can't use him anymore at this point. I don't understand. It's Rodgers' non-throwing wrist. So if he does play, at least that's a good thing. Then they play 3 tight ends. The one player I would say that I really like in this game, and he's probably on a lot of benches, but there was a couple questions about him. Super quiet all year, disappointing season. DK Metcalf. I think this would be a game because I feel like on the road, Pittsburgh defense isn't going to play like they've been playing past couple weeks, seemingly, when they've had some home games. And the Bears offense is rolling, and they're going to have to be chucking it. And DK's been quiet. I like DK Metcalf in this game. I had sat him down 1 week and have been playing him ever since because I'm waiting for it. I thought it would be possibly last week, but I like it this week. I'm going to get into a few of these comments before we go to the next game. And we got an Ola here from the Fantasy Football Wizard of Odds. You've been with us for a few seasons. This is season 9, and I've had some talks with Rob, and haven't spoken with Marty about it. Season 10 might end up being our last year. I'm just going to give a heads up to that. Things are getting busy on the home front for everybody, but we'll keep the group open and Facebook. So if you're watching us from Twitch and you're watching on YouTube, and you have Facebook like the rest of us dinosaurs, I would join the group in there because we still will be giving information and things in that group, no matter what happens. This is not a guarantee either, but 10 might be the last one. Well, we'll see. Thanks for helping my pickup this week. We do fab, and the league bank is in this group. So and that's the thing. And that's why it's been so slow to grow. 9 seasons in, over 400 group members, and people have flat out said it. Tiffany Dawn had said it for years. She's like, I'm not sharing this group with my friends. And I can respect that. And I can't hate on that by any means. But I get it. So yeah, you get your answer and you delete the post. That's okay because you got to keep it a secret. I think that's why we got one dude that's been with us for, I would say, at least 7 of the 9 years, Spencer. And every time he posts anonymous. But then I was thinking about it the other day because he posts pictures of his lineup and it's got like his little logo and his team name. I'm like, dude, I'm thinking to myself, if you got some of your league mates in this group, they're going to know it's you because they see your team name and stuff like that. So if you're going to be anonymous, do it truly anonymous. Let's get to the pastor and then we'll get back into the games and I'll get to everybody else after that. Gibbs, Chase Brown, Travion, Diggs, Pickens, Tet, full PPR, sit 1. Oh, I'm going to say Travion. If Ramondre's back, I'm saying Travion. Someone let me know. I did not look at anything this morning before going live. The last I knew, Ramondre was probably going to be back. Let me just look real quick. Should have done that before. The last I saw, and I just want to make sure. Yeah, he's going to return. And they're going to use him, and it's going to be 3-headed. And I think that's where I'd go. Were you leaning anybody yourself, Pastor? Because I want to play Diggs. And in that matchup, and Travion should be able to run all over him. I get it, and it's possible that they'll ease, but they're going to use Dearness goes to town if he's still on the active roster this week. They'll use Jennings. I'm not sitting Tet on Monday night. Pickens, I really like. We'll get to that game in a minute. Gibbs, I really like this week as well. Chase probably is the tougher matchup. It's between one of those two. If your heart is set on Trevion and you want to sit Chase Brown, go for it. I'm sitting Trevion with Ramondre back. The Patriots just run too many running backs, even in the super, super simple, easy, soft matchup. That would be my call. I understand if it's tough to do, go with gut, and sit Chase would be the other option. Get to the next one. Jets and Ravens. No Justin Fields. I think it's a mistake, but it is what it is. They got to do what they got to do. And a surging Ravens defense that I said probably, I think it was 5 weeks ago, at least week 6 or 7. I was like, the Ravens defense has been terrible, but they're going to get healthy. That they've done. Lamar's come back. Now the offense is better. And look at that spread. I think they steamroll in this one. So who was it? Daniel. This is another against the spread for me. I'm taking the Ravens. And I typically don't like big spreads, but it's Tyrod Taylor. And although I love him, John Mechie is their top wide receiver. Adonai Mitchell sucks. The Ravens can focus on Brees. Mason Taylor has been slowly dying a death with the quarterback play. And I just think the Jets are in disarray. I think this is they're steamrolling into the ground, and the Ravens are steamrolling upward. And I think that they take care of business here. Tough spread, but again, I'm buying the hook. I'll put them in my top 5. So far it's the Chiefs and the Ravens, which is odd. I typically would refer or whatever word I'm looking for, go to the underdogs. But I like these two favorites. Ravens playing on Thanksgiving, like I talked about, so keep an eye on that. When they get up big, if and when they get up big, Derrick Henry, they will rest him. This is why I love Keaton Mitchell so much this week. I know Justice Hill is back. I know Keaton Hill got big usage last week when Justice Hill was not there. But I think that they get Keaton Mitchell into this game a little bit extra to keep Derrick Henry a little more fresh because they have that big Thursday game on Thanksgiving. So they're going to have a game. It's going to be against Cincinnati, but Joe Burrow is going to be back. It's the night game. And I think that having a fresher old Henry will mean a lot to them. Go ahead and play Henry, but Keaton Mitchell is somebody if you're absolutely dying at running back. And I've been talking. I mean, he was a 5 guy for your eyes so long ago, and when he popped off, he just can't stay healthy. But he's healthy now, and against the Jets, and I think they'll have a lot of short fields. I think this Ravens defense is going to do some damage. I'd be surprised. Maybe I'll come on Tuesday night, and Tyrod Taylor has once again the game of his life. But I'd be surprised if they didn't have a lot of short fields in this one with some turnovers. There he is. Detroit is a defense that I'm starting everywhere I can this week. I was a bit worried when I thought Dart was going to come back. He is not coming back. Jameis gets another one. Listen, he chucks the ball downfield. He makes things happen on offense, but he also makes mistakes. We saw that last week. We've seen it every game he's ever played his entire career. Absolutely love him to death. Detroit coming off the loss last week, they are going to be angry in this one. And we've seen it before where Detroit and teams like Detroit, but specifically them, follow up a disappointing loss that angers them. And then they get to play at home against a relatively softer opponent. And Dan Campbell doesn't take his foot off the gas. And I absolutely love Jahmyr Gibbs in this one. I've been relatively spot on picking apart when Gibbs is going to have big games. Love him in this one. Wide receivers, the two of them have been going off for them. So obviously, if you have to play JMO, it's probably an okay spot to do so. But I really like Gibbs and Amon-Ra, which is the JMO to me is still risky in this one because they get up real big. They won't take their foot off the gas, but he's still got to make those plays happen. He's been getting some things that aren't his typical routes and his typical receptions, but I think that they'll be able to do whatever they want in this. I think their defense is angry in this one. I'm playing their defense wherever I can. Tyrone Tracy, I'm sitting. I'm not chasing the Devin Singletary from last week. Isaiah Hodgins, remember when I talked about him? I think it was last season. Allen Haynes, one of our Answers by Guest family members over at Facebook. He was a 5 guy for your eye. I was like, dude, pick up this guy. Isaiah Hodgins going to have a big week. Allen, big Giants fan, was like, I didn't even know he was on the team. So he was a practice squad guy, and it was the same exact thing last week. They picked him off the practice squad. They put him in. Now, if you did that, and then you're like, oh, Hodgins, I remember him from last year. Well, he's a practice squad guy. They pick him up when they need him. They drop him in. I'd be surprised if he has a good game again in this one. But listen, he's a practice squad guy, probably had a lot of balls thrown to him with Winston as he was the third string. So there's a comfortability with him. And I think that they'll be down early and often in this game. So if you're dying, go for it, especially with Slayton and Wonderbread Wandale doing his thing. But I'm not touching either of the running backs in this game. Seattle, Tennessee, this is another one. Big spreads this week all over the place. A lot different than last week. Last week we had a lot high scoring, close games. The week before that we had a ton of blowouts. This week is shaping up to be a ton of blowouts again, ebb and flow. This one, Tennessee, we just sort of got to give up on them. That's Kenneth Walker down there. If you can't see his face, I put him on that side. I should have put him on the other side. But I've been trying to go to his well, and I'm not a big Kenneth Walker guy. I love Zach Charbonnet, but I think both of them, and probably a little bit of George Halani in this one. You have to play Jackson Smith and Jigba, but I don't see Tennessee's offense being able to do too much to make Sam Darnold have to feel like he's going to have to throw the ball. I love the running backs in this one. I want to get him in my lineup wherever I can. The top two, there's no reason to play George Halani, not this week. Let's get into a couple more of these down here. Monty, Wandale, or Tucker, pick one. Half PPR, Gibbs already in. With Bucky being out, I think I would probably just go into the well with Tucker. You know what you're getting in Wandale. If that makes you happy, if a bologna sandwich on white bread makes you happy, with no mayonnaise, no cheese, just a slab of bologna, 2 slices of white bread. If you like that sort of thing, Steven, that's Wandale. That's the old construction site. Mother packed your lunch or wife packed your lunch with some lightly salted chips, which are good, by the way, but just boring. And I like the Monty. I like Gibbs a lot this week. You're already using Gibbs. If you want to put Monty in just to make sure you get it, I don't hate that. And I would go Tucker, but it's not chasing because I've seen your name on here before. I know that you've subscribed to us on YouTube, so thanks for that. But the one thing that I will never do is chase last week's stuff. I liked Tucker last week. Tucker and Chris Rodriguez were 2 of my favorites for last week. Rodriguez didn't get a touchdown. Tucker murdered everybody's soul. But I think I would go back to the well with Tucker. But if you want to play Monty and Gibbs just to get both, because I do think that the Detroit's just going to be able to run as much as they possibly want to. And Tucker does have a really tough matchup, but you get the Sunday night magic with him. So I would go Tucker and just have something there for me Sunday night. But if you want to ensure that you get the Detroit rushing touchdowns, which will be abound today, I feel, then play both of them. Why not? And we've been working on this. We got 2 of them in there for you, and we'll get a couple more here going up. Next, Jacksonville, Arizona. Arizona's been doing their thing. Brissett's been scoring points. Michael Wilson, this is the injury game. That's why we have that there. These teams just have so many people injured. If it's Benson, if it's Murray, if it's Harrison, and then on the other side, Thomas, right? Everybody just always banged up. I don't know how Jacksonville's favorites in this one. This is one that I would not even bother looking at. I actually don't see how Jacksonville wins this game in Arizona. I think Arizona's defense plays good enough and better at home that they could stop Trevor Lawrence in this offense. Etienne's what he is. Everybody's wanting to chase Tootin. Tootin's hurt as well. They got really no tight end play to speak of as far as I'm concerned. Jacoby Myers is a definite play in this one. You have to, obviously. I think Arizona's going to win the game. I'm not expecting Michael Wilson to do what he did last week, but he's worth a shot to play. This is not a game I would touch against the spread. And if I'm being honest, I feel like I would probably play the under, but I don't touch unders. So we're not going to put that on there. It's Myers. You stay away from the Arizona run game. It's Myers. It's McBride are your only 2 slam dunks really in this one. You can stick with Etienne and Michael Wilson. Other than that, I really don't want too much of this. The Parker Washington should have killed it. Didn't. And he's risky, as you could see. We thought he'd be a slam dunk, but he's not. We've seen that for a couple of years now. Shedeur, I'm really excited for this game. He's not in my top 5 against the spread, Daniel. But boy, listen, people hate on him. And I don't really like him one way or another. But I'm hoping he plays well in this one. They talk about what he did last week, what he didn't do last week, how bad he looked last week. But now he's going against the Raiders. And I feel like he'll be able to do some things. I think the trap in this one is going to be Jerry Jeudy, because Jeudy had a good week. And then last week, Shedeur wasn't able to hit him a few times. And he specifically pointed out that I have to practice with him. He had never practiced with any of these guys. But they got just so many other little options with Fannin and Njoku. They just have all of the same nothing guys. Judkins should have a day. Genty should have a day. The top 2 rookie running backs facing off against each other. This is a game I would wholeheartedly stay away from. We've even seen Brock Bowers throw up nothing burgers. But if you draft him where you draft him, you probably have no one else. You probably got to throw him out there in this one. But the Cleveland defense against the run is very tough, but with Genty having the week he had last week, I think that he's going to be looking to have a much better one this week. He'll be running angry. So Bowers will probably do just fine in this one. Look at that over-under. When we see him this low, it's for a reason, right? And both of these offenses have been terrible. Daniel, I'm going to put the over. I'm going to put it at 36. I think this game gets to 20-17 without a problem. I think they're short fields. I think Cleveland turns over Geno. I think the Raiders turn over Shedeur. I look for short fields. There's playmakers on both sides. The Raiders, for whatever reason, well, they try, but he kind of stinks. But they don't want to get Thornton too involved. I do like that they were getting back a little bit involved. So I think that'll continue. Cleveland is a pass funnel defense. It's so easy to pass against them, relatively difficult to run against them, but their best players are running back. So if Genty can open up some holes, it's just going to be even easier. If the pass game, if Geno can hit the ball, Genty will have holes to run through. I think this game goes over. Daniel, you asked for it. I'm putting the over 36 because I'm buying that half point. into the top 5 this week. Anytime it's this low, I don't see a 13-9 game. I think Shador's going to make enough things happen with a full week of practice. I really do. And Geno's looked so bad, but this is a perfect pass defense to look good against. And he's got good enough weapons with Tucker and Pete Carroll's boy, Tyler Lockett. He carries him around with him everywhere he goes like a stuffed animal. There was Seattle. Now he's brought him into and Geno was playing with him in Seattle, so they're using them. I think they have enough weapons. I think Cleveland, although they're not all stellar, they have enough weapons. This game goes well over 36. I'm putting them in my top 5, and that's my play. If you're dying with injuries and the few bye teams that we have, Njoku obviously is fine. Fannin, to me, is even fine in this one. The 2 running backs are layups. I would take a shot with Tillman in this one. And I think Tucker, who's been relatively quiet here and there, I think he's fine to play as well. On to the next one. Here's one, Daniel, number 4 on the list. Dallas is winning this game. I felt it early on. I texted my buddy. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. It was Thursday. And I'm a teacher. He's a teacher. And I said, if I don't see you at work tomorrow, I want to let you know Dallas is going to beat Philly. And he said, music to my ears. I think Dallas wins this game. Their offense, I think, is the most complete and best in the league. Philly's a good defense, but I think the Dallas defense, yes, it was against the Raiders like you see in the picture there. But I felt it a couple weeks ago. I'm like, they're sort of starting to gel and ascend a little bit. And I think they'll be able to do just enough because the Philly offense is a little broken. And I think this is a very tough spot for Philly. I think Dallas is going to win this one. I'd put them in number 1 on that top 5. I think Dallas, I will take them +3 just in case. But I would take them money line. I think Dallas wins this game. Pickens has been the star. Lamb's been a little quiet. I'm liking Lamb in this one. Loving Ferguson in this one. Javonte Williams, my boy from years ago, finally back to playing like I hoped he would have when I took him in the first round way back when, 3 years ago in Denver. I'm a little nervous moving forward with him. I think the fantasy season might be just enough time for you to continue to use them. It's going to be tough in this one. Blue is their number 1 backup. They have only those 2 running backs, it seems like. Yeah, they pull up Malik from the practice squad. But you got to play Javonte. But I'm a bit nervous moving forward. I would keep my eyes on Jaden Blue just in case. And my fingers are crossed because I love the dude to death. Don't want anything to happen to Javonte Williams. Keep it going strong. As far as Philly goes, A.J. Brown spoke out once again. And I think that the secondary is the one place that they could do some things. They're going to have to throw in this one because the Dallas offense is going to be able to score, especially at home in this hated matchup. Dallas wins the game. Philly wide receivers do just fine. I'm surprised that this over-under is only at 47.5. I wouldn't take the over, but I think it goes well over. We got games up in the 50s, 51. This game should have been up there for me, but I think what they're looking at is Philly offense been a little broken. Dallas defense is surging. Lower it down a little bit. Philly defense is good. Dak Prescott will make mistakes, but I think this game goes over. Dallas wins the game. We'll see what happens on Tuesday when I'm back. I said it weeks ago, I really like this kid, and look at that. The Saints are a favorite. The Saints are a favorite. I don't know if I could put him in my top 5 for you, Daniel, but I'm rooting for him. I love this kid. The game that he got put in against Tampa Bay, I was watching, and Tampa Bay is really tough. Todd Bowles with his defense and all that. And I'm watching, and I'm like, his footwork, he gets the ball out quick. He's got a cannon. Devon Vele, I don't know why they didn't get him involved earlier on in the season when Rattler was a quarterback. Because if they would just use him to complement Olave, I feel like they would just have everything they needed with Juwan Johnson having a great year. Um, Kamara, I like Devin Neal in this one as well. They could wind up winning this game simply because it's Kirk Cousins on the other side. However, I'm a bit nervous. Kirk Cousins was okay until he wasn't. He's a statue last season. He was okay until he wasn't. Um, I don't know if the New Orleans defense can get after him. I think that they'll get the ball out of his hands as quick as possible. Feel like this is one of those weird games, and I'm not speaking only to him, I'm speaking to everybody, but because he's worried about that top 5 against the spread, and I want to just make sure I get to that before I get down the rest of the list, which I will get to, Broly. This is one of those games where I feel like they put this out there because the Joe Public Joes are like, oh, the Saints suck. Why are the Saints favorite? I'm putting my house on Atlanta. But then I look at it and I think, well, maybe there's people that aren't like that. And they're probably like, well, New Orleans hasn't looked super terrible. And Kirk Cousins is terrible. I wouldn't touch this game at all. I'm very interested to see. Kirk Cousins has the weapons. Again, last season he was good before he wasn't. He's a statue. If New Orleans can get after him, they'll take care of this game. But the one player I'm looking at is the one player I put there. If you are dying for whatever reason in quarterback, or if you're in a dynasty league, or if you're in a super flex, I said it a couple weeks ago after that game. I said, I like this kid. He's old. He's not a kid. He's a kid to me. He's a rookie. He's old. He's 26, 27 years old. Great footwork. Gets the ball out of his hand quickly. Super arm. He's got good weapons. At home, I like him in this one. If you're dying for quarterback help, I really, really like him in this one. This is probably the most interesting game for me this week, just because of the quarterback dynamics with it. It sucks. Drake London's hurt, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. He's not playing. I'll look that up, see if somebody drops a comment in there, but I'm almost positive he's not. This is why I like having Rob with me. Rob can do these things. But yeah, he's out. I knew it. So that's what makes it tough, and I feel like that has something to do with that spread as well. So dare I say, Darnell Mooney, because you know who loves to throw to Darnell Mooney? Loved to throw to him last season as well. Kirk Cousins. So this will be a Mooney game. Check out those Mooney props. See where those are at. McVay, he's a master. Sunday night game. We'll get through these last two, and I'll get to all these questions. The Rams are just incredible. Not this past September 2025, but September 2024, when the season was about to kick off, the Los Angeles Rams were picked to be last in the division, one of the worst teams in football. They wound up being really, really good. And now they're the number 1 seed in the NFC. And you can't really say too much. And I love Baker to death. But this is going to be a tough one. I'll be rooting for the Bucs, but I just don't see it. I mean, the Rams are bound to lose one, but their defense has just become so much better, and they're playing at home. And Baker will make his mistakes. They're getting Chris Godwin back. I think they're getting Sterling Shepard back. That's going to help. Love Tez Johnson. Love Cameron Johnson. And obviously Egbuka. No Bucky, so it's the Tucker and White show again. They have tons of weapons, in which they rarely use. He's walking around like Stone Man. He had a little bit more speed before these injuries this year. Yeah, London's out. Thank you, Daniel. You play the usual suspects. The Bucs have a good rush defense, but I feel like if you've been playing Kyron, go ahead. I'm not going to touch anyone in this one, but if I did, Daniel, I think I need one more to make your top 5. It'd be the Bucs, but I think I'm going to save it for this. I'm taking Carolina. I'm putting them in my top 5. San Francisco -7. I feel like they have no business being -7. Now, listen, Brock, you saw it last week, made their offense better. Pearsall had a nothing burger last week. I absolutely love Pearsall this week. Fireworks, that's the reason. Kittle will get his. Jennings will get his. McCaffrey will get his. Just so many weapons, but I don't think they win by 7 points. Carolina's a surging team that I love to see. I took them over 5.5 wins at the beginning of the season. They already won that. They're at 6. I think they keep this one close. I think they keep it within a touchdown. Bryce Young, all you need is the doctors to shoot you up with some Percocets before the game, shoot you up at halftime, because once you came back, you were incredible last week. You got Tet going, Leggett going, you got everybody going. I like it. I'm taking Carolina as my number 5. I'm playing as many Panthers and as many Niners as I possibly can this week. Hence the reason for the fireworks. I think this one was a good one too. A great night game. I feel like the night games have been sort of terrible past couple weeks. But this one, surprisingly, with 2 teams that are middle of the road at best, really, I think this is going to be a really, really fun game with a lot of offensive explosion. So I want to get them in my lineup. So we'll stop that there. And we'll get down to these. Broly said yo. I said yo. Diggs or Tat? I'm going Tat. I really like Diggs. It's quite the easy matchup, but they just have so many other weapons that they'll throw the ball around to. And when it gets bad, they're just going to run their 3 or 4 running backs like crazy. So I'm going Tat in a game where I think there's going to be a ton of fireworks. You are welcome, Daniel. Good morning. From OD Blacktip. I love it. Good morning, you Lost Hill neighbors and McLaurin. Yeah. We need to pick up 3 to start. Watson, Pierce, Booty, Parker, Trey Tucker, leading the first 3. Here's my problem with Christian Watson. Can never stay healthy. But right now he is healthy. So I'll put him in there for you for 3 for this week. The Booty situation is very similar to the Diggs situation I was just talking about, plus coming back from an injury. I think that unless Cincinnati can keep this super close, they're just going to go to the running backs. And for whatever reason, I feel like they might, but it's going to be tougher with no Jamar Chase. And we all know that. So it's not him. The Pierce one, he's been killing it, but it's not him. I'm going to go back to the well with Parker, and I'm going to go with Trey Tucker. That's my 3 for this week. I'm going Watson in a game where I think Jordan Love plays a lot better. I feel like they get some short fields, and he looks to him in the end zone quite often. I know Dobbs is usually his typical guy, but Watson's healthy, so I'd use him and help him get downfield. Parker Washington, a bit of a down one. I think he's going to have an up one. And Trey Tucker. I'm going to go Trey Tucker. I think that they are pass funnel, the Browns, and I think that they'll use him. And I like the over in that game, which is a super short over, but I like it. So those are the 3. You're taking the Colts plus 150. They could. The Chiefs' back is against the wall. I will wish you luck on that. I'm not rooting against the Colts by any means. I just feel like the Chiefs are going to do some things in this one. Darko, yeah, Lamb is going to take back over. I mean, he is the alpha, and a lot of it deals with coverage. But this week, I really do like Lamb to have a week similar to what Pickens did last week, because he's been relatively quiet for a while. So I don't hate that call. Luther Burden or Loveland. Although Loveland's splitting, I would go Loveland over Burden, because Burden is still that situational third guy. I mean, he has supplanted Zacchaeus for the time being, and I love him. But I think until DJ Moore is gone, I think we won't fully see what we will get out of him. And I love Luther Burden to death. But I'm going to go with Loveland. He had a really good week. Then Komet sort of did some things last week. But I'm going to go with Loveland in this one. I'm not sure the analogy you were talking about, but thank you. I got behind on these comments. I'm sorry about that, but I appreciate the compliment. Tyler Warner, Brock Bowers. This is a good one. I'm actually going to go Brock. I'm going to go Brock. I'm going to go Brock at home. It's very tough. I'm going to do him at home against Cleveland, the pass funnel defense. One would think that there would be less scoring in that one, but the Kansas City defense, I think, will do what they can to limit Warren, Pittman, and Taylor. And there's somebody, whoever it was, just say, "Well, why didn't you say to start Pierce?" I like the Kansas City defense today to play like their backs are against the wall and everything's on the line, because it is. So I'm sort of leaning away from Colts today. I'll root for you when you're plus 150 bet, though, but I'm going to go Brock Bowers here. Lamar or Mayfield? Good question. I think I answered this. Maybe I didn't on your question. I'm glad that you were able to join the show, Antonio, a longtime member of the Answered by Guest family. I'm going to go Lamar. I'm going to go Lamar at home. He hasn't really been running. Super easy matchup, but he'll get his points. The running backs will do their things, but he'll throw some touchdown passes and do just enough. The Mayfield situation, it's Sunday Night Magic. I get it. He's getting weapons back, but for whatever reason, I want to lean Lamar in this one. He hasn't really been doing too much on the ground. Probably keep it that way with the Thursday game coming up. But I'm going to go Lamar in this one. I always sort of, I know Baker will get out of the pocket and run a little bit, but I always sort of lean towards the guys that'll give me some ground yards. And although Lamar hasn't been doing that, I think he could this week. Just sort of have a feeling. He might sneak out of the pocket just a little bit more than he has. He's been cautious. And I'm going to go with Lamar. I think he'll get 2 passing touchdowns, whereas although he's getting weapons back, I think Baker's 2 will be tougher. I hope not. Go with your gut. It's very close. All your quarterback questions, I think you've asked 3 or 4 of them. It's all guys that are really close. It was Mahomes and Hurts was one. I went Mahomes, but it's close. And a couple other ones. Well, I had something pop up on my screen. Mooney. Is that Michael Wilson you're asking about, or Jacoby Myers? I like Mooney for whatever reason this week, and I don't like Mooney at all. I think the Michael Wilson is not going to be anywhere near last week, and I've been a huge Michael Wilson guy ever since he was a rookie. He was a dude that I talked about like Antonio Brown. I had said he reminds me a lot of him. He's got the hands. He runs good routes. But I'm going Jacoby Myers in this one. Lawrence really just loves him. And that's who I'm going to pick out of these 3. I'll go Jacoby Myers. He's been a 1 pretty much everywhere he's been, whether it was the Patriots or the Raiders. Now, he hasn't had much competition, but again, he doesn't have much competition right now with Thomas being out and with Hunter being out for the Jags. I'm going to go Jacoby in this one. I think it's close. The reason that I'm picking him, sorry, answering a text. The reason that I'm picking Jacoby is just Kirk Cousins. I can't get past it. Kirk Cousins loves Mooney. He's always loved him. And I do have a good feeling about Mooney. And the Michael Wilson thing, same game at home, big game last week. Defense's focus on that. I feel like he went a little bit overlooked last week. So I'm going to go with Myers. I think that Jacksonville just sort of makes sure, okay, we can't let Michael Wilson kill us. And they make that a point of it because he killed last week. Sharp, Hunt, or Tracy. What's up, Rob? We miss you on here, bud. I'm going to go Sharp. And for whatever reason, I'm going away from Hunt. I think Burchard is going to get some extra usage this week. I really do. And I'm not touching Tracy, not in that matchup. So I'm going to go Sharp. I like him and Kenneth Walker this week. ZS Smitty. Last night was my trade deadline. I made a buzzer beater trade with 2 minutes left. You traded Gadsden for Brian Thomas Jr. Okay. I'll drop my team below, but worth noting I have Bowers, 10-man PPR, and they're narrowly in first. Well, BTJ's hurt. So I'll look at the wide receivers in a second to see what you got. Here they are. Herbert, Bijan, Jacobs, good. CD, Rome, Bowers, Chase, Addison, Bucky, BTJ. All right. So you're down to one tight end, which is okay so long as he stays healthy. The BTJ, we need him to come back. But then I like this down here, also worth noting. Very good. Thank you, Smitty. Yeah, so if you need one, you could grab one. And you got an IR spot. You got Jaden Reed on the IR. The problem is I wish Reed was back and would be back, and I hope he's back sooner than Brian Thomas Jr. because then you could swap because I don't know what's going on with BTJ. It's not bad. I would have traded, honestly, probably for a running back if I could have, but you got a wide receiver out of it, and you have tight ends available. It's all bench guys. So as long as your starters stay healthy, you're good to go. Rob Torres back again. Stevenson, Monty, Judkins. I'm starting Judkins. The Stevenson, I feel like it's just going to be eat into situation coming back. Is he going to jump Henderson? I think he's going to. But I think I would go Monty. I think I'd go Monty and Judkins here. We know what Monty's going to be. Flex 1. What's up, Andrew? Wandale. Oh, bologna sandwich, white bread. Listen, Antonio asked this question, and he was queasy with my answer. And you might be queasy with my answer as well. But when it's these three, I can't get behind Wonder Bread Wandale. He is what he is, but he's still the short little guy. Even the one game where he had the huge, big touchdown, it was because of a missed tackle. Where he had a 35-yard touchdown. Travion, I think Stevenson's going to jump ahead of him. Could he outplay Stevenson? Sure. Could they go with a hot hand then and keep him in? Sure. But I'm going Jaylen Warren. He's healthy enough to play. Said he was healthy enough to play. They need him. I don't care what Kenneth Gainwell did last week. I don't care about Caleb Johnson. Out of these three this week, I'm taking Jaylen Warren. If you don't like it, you got to go with your gut, but that's who I'm playing. Last one for Rob, Judkins, Kamara, Aaron Jones. Oh, gosh. Dare I say, well, I mean, it's Judkins, but if I had to look at two, and that's what I was looking at, I would have said, dare I say Kamara going against Atlanta with the great – he's the next great quarterback, I'm hoping. But he looks absolutely – just watch – all of you that are still here, the 7, 8, 9, 10 of you, watch the Saints today. Watch Shuff. Watch Shuff. Well, however you want to say his name. Just watch his footwork. Watch how he gets rid of the ball. Watch how he makes his read. Watch how his throws are come out of a cannon. And I hope I don't end up looking like a bigger moron than I already look like. But you will see a veteran-looking quarterback and his composure, his decision-making. It's great. It's really great. Just keep an eye on it. Any highlights, or if you could flip on that game, if you're in the Atlanta or New Orleans area, trust me, he looks good. And that's why I would dare say Kamara. But the answer here is Judkins. So none of that nonsense matters. Trey Tucker or Parker Washington. Oh, man, the Parker thing, disappointed, right? I'm going to go Parker. I'm going Parker. I want to say Trey Tucker, but I'm going to go Parker. It's a pass funnel for Cleveland, and that's why I like Trey Tucker today. I really like both, man. I think Parker Washington is probably going to get you more receptions. Trey Tucker is going to get you more yards. Who's going to get you more touchdowns? Probably 1-1 at best. But the PPR changes it. I'm going with Parker and hoping he catches, even if it's 8 for 50, it's better than the 5 for 80 in my mind, even though they'd be exactly the same. Full PPR, need 2 this week. Brees, Javonta, or Judkins. I'm going Judkins. I'm keeping him in. It's very tough to run. I'm gonna go Williams. I'm going Williams. How do you sit Brees Hall? I don't understand how you sit Brees Hall. How? Because Taylor's your quarterback, and you're going against a surging Baltimore defense. And it doesn't feel right. But I like Williams and Judkins. If you want to swap out Williams and Hall, I get it. But for me, it's Williams and Judkins. I like Dallas so much in this game to beat Philly that I just think that, we know if and when they get close, he could punch it in. He's done it a few times this year where he didn't do much on the ground, but they get down to the 1, 2, 3 yard line. The ball goes to Williams. He gets you a touchdown. Hall's going to have a ton of passes, which he'll have. I just don't trust Tyrod Taylor. I don't. So I'm going with Williams and Judkins. You need to start 2 in a 16 team. I like it. Singletary, Spears, Moore, and Slayton. I'm going to go Spears and hope that they continue what they sort of started to do last week, which is what they should do with Spears, and pass him the ball. Singletary one, I can't get behind it. Tracy's still above him, regardless of what Singletary did last week or the past couple. Comes down to Moore and Slayton for me. I've been waiting for Slayton to do something. I've been absolutely waiting for weeks for him to do it. And he gets hurt, he doesn't do it. But you can pass on Detroit, and I feel like Detroit's going to be able to do whatever the heck they want to do. So I'm going to go with Spears and Slayton. Best of luck. I'll be rooting for you. Jacoby Myers or Slayton? I'm going to go with Myers in this one. Slayton's close. Just heard it. But I'm going to go with Myers. He's the alpha there in Jacksonville now. He started throwing to him when he knew 25% of the playbook. Now he's 2 or 3 weeks removed from that. Arizona you can pass against. I think Arizona will be able to score some points. I'm going with Myers. Why would I trade for another RB when you have Bijan, Jacobs, Chase Browns, and Bucky? Well, because Bucky's hurt. Jacobs is on the verge of hurt. Not going to play much this week because running backs are gold. I just didn't think you needed Brian Thomas Jr., who's been injured for 6 weeks in a row. That's pretty much the reason. And you say right here, you're way weaker at wide receiver. I mean, we can go back up to your team here. You got CD, Roma Dunze, Addison, and then your fourth is BTJ, who hasn't played in about 5 or 6 weeks. Yeah, I get you. You play 2 running backs, you play 2 wide receivers. I mean, it's 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. You made your trade. Fine trade. You have 1 tight end, but you got tight ends out there. Brian Thomas Jr. hasn't been healthy. And even when he wasn't doing much this year. I said it. I would rather have a 5th or a 6th running back on my team in case my guys got hurt, because as we see here, Jacobs is hurt. Bucky's been hurt. But they'll be back. But those are your top 4. You did have, I think, Algier down there? Algier and Corum, who hasn't done much, but we'll see. They are trying to get him more involved. But you got to do you. And that's the beauty of this. You ask me questions, I give my opinion. My opinion doesn't match up with yours. Guess what? It's your team. And you got to do what you do. I would have wanted to trade for a running back. Why? Because I will always try and trade for running backs because wide receivers are a dime a dozen in my mind. Starting running back goes down. Instead of 3 studs, you now have, or instead of 4 studs, you now have 3 studs, which you do have 4 studs when healthy. You are 100% correct. I would rather have had Gadsden than Brian Thomas Jr. You would have rather had Brian Thomas Jr. I like it. Do you? Do your team. Best of luck this week to all of you. Thank you for joining us. 1 hour show. Beautiful. Should be back Tuesday night. Best of luck this week. Thanks for joining us. Inside Scoop from Outside the Box. Answered by guests. Oh, we got one more question. Let's get it up there. JMO or Devontae? I'm going Devontae simply because of the reason that I feel like that game's going to be more of a back and forth. Although Dan Campbell doesn't take his foot off the gas, at some point the running backs are just going to run all over the Giants. JMO could do his thing. I really like, obviously, Amon St. Ra. Or St. Brown, Amon St. Brown. But I'm going to go with Devontae because I feel like it's more of a back and forth type of game. I think Dallas wins. I think Philly's going to need to be throwing the ball. Half point need 1, Ricky P, Sharp, or Sean Tucker. That's a good one. I like Sharp, but he's eating in. I'm love Pearsall this week. Absolutely love Pearsall this week. After his nothing burger last week, he had targets, but he had nothing, 0. I like him. And Monday Night Magic, that's who I'm going with. I'm going with Ricky Pearsall. I'm having that one. Now you say need 2. I'm going Ricky Pearsall. And it comes down to Charbonnet or Tucker. You know what? I'm going to go with Charbonnet. I know Tucker did what he did last week, but we've seen this before. We've seen it before. If you owned Tucker last week, Daniel, and you played him, good, you did right. But if you went out, and I'm not just saying you, it's everybody, went out and then put in a waiver wire to get Tucker based on last week's performance, you missed it. Last week's performance was last week's performance. Now you have a much tougher matchup. Now the team you're playing is ready for it. And he could show out and show up, and I hope he does because I'm rooting for the Bucs to win that game against the Rams. But to pick him up and think that that's what it's going to be because it's not going to be. Because of that, I'm going Charbonnet in a game where I think they should dominate on the ground. So it's Charbonnet and Ricky Pearsall. Good morning, my guy. PPR, Flex 1. Yeet. It's like you've been watching us the whole time and just cooking this one up. It's White Bread, Wandale, or Ramondre, Share My Time, Stevenson. PPR is going to make the flip. I'm doing it. Rob, Marty, if either of you guys are here with us, I'm doing it. I'm recommending Wandale Robinson. I'm doing it. I'm doing it simply because the Ramondre coming back from the injury, he's going to split time. If Travion outplays him, they're going to play the hot hand. They'll sit him. They'll use Jennings. They'll use Dearness goes to town Johnson. I'm going with Wandale White Bread Robinson, Wonder Bread man himself. Why? Because they're going to have to be throwing a ton. And it's PPR, and that's all he does is catch 5-yard, 3-yard, 8-yard passes all day long. So that's the answer. Wonder Bread's the name. All right. Any other questions? 5, 4, 3, 2. Love you all. Thanks for joining us. Best of luck this week. hiding behind my symbol. I'm going to go upstairs, make some coffee. Have a good day.